Today is the day that they're having that big march against gun violence in Washington, D.C. They're having marches all across the country. They're having one in my town. They're actually having them all over the world, from what the news tells me. So I went to the one in my town. I just watched. Didn't say a word to anybody. I just wanted to observe. What I observed was a little bit disheartening. Probably the most predominant message I saw on the signs people were carrying and the chants people were shouting had to do with repealing the Second Amendment, banning all guns, confiscating guns, things like that. I wonder if those people that were thinking that and advocating for that understood that their right to assemble, their right to freedom of speech, freedom of expression, was won for them at the hands of men with guns. I doubt if they really thought about it. A lot of those people seem to believe that, yeah, that was fine back then. That was maybe necessary, but not today. We've grown past that. Now guns are a burden on society and they're too dangerous. And I've had a lot of discussions with people who say that. My answer to that is, if as a society we have grown to the place where decent people cannot handle the responsibility of liberty, if they can't handle the responsibility of a deadly weapon, we're not a free society at all. In fact, what that means is terrifying. That we're at a place right now in America where a growing number of people, a number of people growing louder and louder anyway, is of the opinion that we cannot handle the responsibility of freedom. If that's true, and if that's where we get as a society, so that the majority feels that way, and legislation begins to alter what we can have for our own safety, it's over. It's over. Because I guarantee you other nations are not going to get rid of their guns. You think Russia, China, North Korea? No. No way. You take them out of the hands of decent citizens, criminals will still have them. All you're doing is taking away our right to protect innocent people. So I ask you this. Where's the outrage? There's a lot of outrage towards guns, of course. Where's the outrage at gun-free zones? When we protect our banks, our airports, so many other places that we consider to be valuable places with guns, we protect our politicians with guns, everything precious we protect with guns, except our kids in school. Where's the outrage at not having weapons capable of protecting our kids in school, of making the places, the public places that we have to go as a society, gun-free zones? Where's that outrage? Why is the gun community not speaking about that? I've heard it, but I've not heard outrage about it, because I think that's what's at fault. Evil exists in the world. Taking guns away is not going to change that. Taking guns away just means that evil has a greater foothold and can do more damage, and we are more helpless to stop it. So after I left the rally, I came out to one of my shooting spots. And there's a lot of other people doing the same today. As I drove along the road, passing one spot after another where people pull aside and shoot into the woods, I saw people with bump stocks. I saw everything you could imagine. We're getting more divided on this issue as a country, not more unified. It's time we looked at the problem and talked about solutions. And it's time for liberals to stop thinking with emotions and start thinking with their heads. Emotions are not what forged the Constitution. Our founding fathers met for a great period of time and argued and discussed the merits of all these different laws and all these different things they were going to use to guide our politicians. There was a lot of emotion involved in their decision-making and in their arguments. But in the end, they based the Constitution on intellect. Liberal people who want to abolish the Second Amendment are doing so out of emotions. That's their feelings talking. But if you engage them in a conversation on what that actually means and how to accomplish it and what it would bring, they really don't have any answers at all. In fact, liberals are the most ignorant about firearms of anybody in society. So, I challenge you in the gun community, as long as I'm able, let's start making solutions. Let's start getting ticked off at the madness of gun-free zones where our children are helpless. Let's start thinking with our heads and acting on it, just like the founders did. Because we may not have much more time to talk about this. My voice is being stamped out by YouTube. In less than a week, I'm going to have to remove most of the videos on my channel. And I'm going to have to greatly change my content. I'm going to give it a try. If you guys want to keep on watching, I'll try to make it as fun as possible. But please, start getting outraged. You have a right to be upset too. It's madness to consider forcing people to go places and leave their guns at home. Then only the criminals will be able to do what they want in those places. And that's what's happening. Every one of these situations where there's a mass murder, it's interesting how the traction for this march is by the kids at that school where 17 died a month ago. But a week ago in Maryland, similar scenario was stopped by a good man with a gun. You're not hearing much about that, are you? News is not going to report that. The news is only interested in stories where a lot of people die. That's what people listen to. The coward that was supposed to go in and stop that shooting where 17 died in Florida has to live with what he did. But it goes to show you what one person with a firearm can make a difference. That argument has to be shouted at the top of our voice. And I don't hear anybody making that argument. There are people alive right now because a good man with a gun stopped a bad man with a gun. But you don't tend to notice unless something is taken away. And I'm afraid that a lot of people who support the Second Amendment aren't going to get outraged until it's taken away. I don't know if you can hear that, but the whole time I've been talking, there have been other people down the road from me shooting full auto and bump fires. The gun owners of America are the largest standing militia in the world. We make up more people than all the largest militaries in the world. We just need to be of one mind and one voice. That's all. It's the only difference. And yet we let the liberals, with their crazy ideas that won't work, have the loudest voice. God help us. But if we don't start acting up right now and start speaking up, we're going to have to go into the shadows as they legislate us into felony. Because that's what's going to happen. Well, I'm going to go do some shooting. I enjoy target practice. It's not against the law as of yet. This is Max Headspace 9mm. Have a good one.